Alright, today we're going to make a little rotating security camera using another one of the camera systems that are in the Source engine. So we're going to use the same map as yesterday, but what I'd like you to do is go ahead and remove the camera system we put in yesterday, or if you want, duplicate this map so that you don't lose your work from yesterday. Just make a copy of it. And then remove the camera from the second map. However you want to do it, or create a brand new map, either way, doesn't matter. But essentially I want the same setup as what we had yesterday. So let's take a quick look at what my setup looks like. So I've got the player start. Here's my old camera and the path tracks. It's all disabled because we're not going to use it for this lesson. I've got the walls so I can hide the player. And then I've got this NPC right here that I'm going to use a camera to look at. So today what we're going to make is a rotating security camera that rotates back and forth and allows the player to see like through a monitor or something like that. So I've got a monitor here. So let me go ahead and run this so you guys can see what we're making, and then we'll come back and look at how I set it up. Alright, so there's the camera, and we'll let it rotate for a few seconds. I've got it on a 10-second rotation, so at every 10 seconds it's going to reverse directions. And it's going to just slowly pan around, just like a security camera would. I could obviously put a monitor around this or build a frame around it or something, so it's not just a floating screen in the middle of the wall. But we'll do that in the actual assignment. Today we're just going to go over the mechanics of how to make this work. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. Alright, so step one. There's a few parts that make this work. It's actually fairly simple. I've got something to rotate the camera, I've got the camera, a timer for the rotation back and forth, and then I've got the monitor piece right here. So we'll go ahead and start with the camera. So the camera is an entity, and this one is called a point camera. So yesterday we used a point view control because it took control of the player's view, hence the name view control. This is a camera. So for this one, you're going to go to your entity tool here, come over to your objects, type in point camera, and you're going to get this little camera icon right here. Alright, so once you drop the camera in, go ahead and place it, on the corner of your wall or something like I've got here. And we're going to go ahead and name the camera. Now I named it Security Cam 2. Name it whatever you want. But we're going to go ahead and give this camera a name. Don't worry about the parent just yet. Alright, so this is a point camera. Name it, click apply, close it up. Now, to make the camera rotate, we're going to use a brush. So take your block tool and go ahead and make a brush. And I'm going to cover that brush with no draw. Enter. Alright, so we're going to create a little invisible brush that looks like this. Alright, now from that brush, you're going to right click on it, tie to entity, and you're going to make it a func rotating. Okay, func rotating. And then go ahead and click apply. Okay, so we have this. We have a func rotating, little block here. We're going to name it. So I went ahead and named mine Cam Mount because it's the mount for the camera. Rotation speed, I set mine to 10, which is what you saw in the demonstration. Under flags, we'll go ahead and say start on. Okay, no other changes. Click apply. close that. Now, you're going to take that camera mount, this thing that we just made, and we're going to position it where we want the camera to sit. Okay, so I'm going to put mine right on the corner of this building here. Then I want you to take the camera, and I want you to just put the camera right on top of that mount. So it looks something like this. Right? So I've got a Funk rotating, which is this box right here. I named it Cam Mount. I set the rotation speed to 10. Under flags, start on. And then I have this, which is a point camera. I named it Security Cam 2. And now we're going to go ahead and tell the parent to be the cam mount. So now this camera is going to be a child of this rotator right here. So now when this thing rotates, remember, a child follows its parent. So as this no-draw box, as this thing right here, our Funk rotating, as it rotates, its child object, which is the camera, is going to follow it. And it's always going to maintain the relationship that we've given it here. So that means that this camera is going to sit right on top of this, and as this guy rotates, the camera is just going to rotate with it. So we're going to put the parent to the cam mount. Click apply, and then we'll close that up. Now, by default, this rotator here is going to go 360 degrees. So what we need is something to make the rotator reverse directions every couple of seconds. Because you could do a 360 degree, which is fine, but for this lesson we're going to do a security camera that kind of acts more like a traditional security camera. So it's going to kind of have a range that it goes through. So for that, we're going to use a timer. All right. So right next to this grouping of objects here, I'm going to go to my entity tool. I'm going to type in logic timer, and I'm going to get this guy right here. Doesn't matter where this is because it's invisible, so I just put it right next to these guys. I'm going to go ahead and open it. I'm going to name it Cam Timer because it's the timer for the camera. And for the refire interval, this is how often it's going to time out. So this is just counting to 10 and it's going to fire. It's going to count to 10 again, it's going to fire. So this thing just continuously counts to 10, counts to 10, counts to 10. Click apply. All right, now when it hits its interval, when we get to 10 seconds, we need to tell it to do something. So we're going to go to our output tab. And we're going to say on timer, so this means it hits its 10 seconds. It's going to tell the camera mount, the cam mount, which is this rotator right here, it's going to tell it to reverse. So every 10 seconds, the camera mount is going to reverse. So this rotator is going to start turning, the timer is going to fire, and it's going to reverse its directions. It's going to go 10 seconds the other way, it's going to stop and go back. So when you're trying to get the range, how many degrees of rotation your camera gets, we're going to set it by changing the timing. So if you want your camera to pan further, rotate more degrees, you could just simply change this interval here to allow the camera to move further. So if I wanted my camera to go, from way over here all the way around to this side, I could just raise this number up a little bit to get it where I want it. All right. So this is what makes our camera rotate. So now let's make the screen. Okay, so the screen is going to start out as a block. So we're going to use our block tool. And I'm going to come in here, I'm going to draw out a shape. That's, roughly the shape of a screen that you're going to use. We're going to browse for a material. I'm going to go ahead and do a metal. I'm going to use this one. Press enter, so I create this block right here. Okay, so this will become my screen. Just put it wherever you want. Now, the thing is, it's a good idea to go ahead and place this where you want it and get it all set up, because otherwise you have to reapply the texture to the front of it that makes it a monitor. So I like to get all this done before I move it. So get the sizing, the position, and all that stuff exactly where you want it. We're going to go to our texture tool. You're going to click on the front only of the monitor. Okay, so see how I've only got the front selected, so I can click off of it, whatever, click the ground. I only want the front selected here. Okay. All right, so one more time. I'm going to go to my texture tool, and I'm going to click on the front only of the monitor. I'm going to select browse, type in monitor, and you're going to see a whole bunch of textures that say dev monitor. These first two rows, I haven't tried every single one of them, but they're all supposed to work. Some of these didn't work for me, so you can play around and see which ones work. The difference between a lot of them is how much static. Some of them are black and white. It kind of just depends on what you want it to look like. I'm going to use this last one right next to Alex here. It's the TV monitor, no noise. It's the clearest one, but you're welcome to try out any of these. Some of them have static or lines going through them. Some of them are black and white. Just kind of play around with whichever one you want. So I'm going to double click this one and click apply. All right, so now this is on here. Now we're going to click this little button right here that says fit. And what that's going to do is it's going to take the material and it's going to make it fit to this shape. If you don't click this little fit button right here, your picture might be in quarters, it might be cut off, it may not fit the monitor quite right. So clicking fit is going to take that texture and make it fit the shape of your monitor. Apply, close, take your selection tool and select the monitor. You're going to right click on it, tie to entity, and you're going to make it a function monitor. Okay, func monitor. Click apply, name it, so now it's a monitor, so I'm going to name it, I'm going to call this security monitor 2. We're going to go down here to the bottom where it says camera name, and we're going to find our camera. So mine was called security cam 2. Click apply. That's it. Nothing else to do here. Close this up, and then we'll go ahead and run it just for good measure to test it. And let's reload the map. And there it is. There's my new screen. So remember, the other one was over here. I deleted it. This is the new one. So we're watching it. If you count to 10, it should switch directions every 10 seconds. There's the direction switch. Good. All right. Now, you can only have one of these cameras active at a given time. If you try to run two, they'll all display the same thing. You can have more than one display, but they'll all display the same camera. You can have more than one camera, but you can only have one active at any given time. So, so my thoughts would be, if you wanted to have several of these, you would probably have triggers that you could walk into that activate certain cameras when you're in certain rooms. And then when you leave that room, it deactivates the camera, which allows you to turn on other cameras if you go into, or you could possibly have a button that switches cameras. If you wanted to have like a security room with a bunch of different monitors, you could maybe press buttons and have the buttons activate and deactivate different cameras. So kind of up to you. So for today, we're just going to make this single rotating camera, and that should be good for today. And then, yeah, and then if you want to do something more exciting with it, as always, go ahead and do that. And I always appreciate to see that when you guys turn it in.